The alarm screamed through the crystal halls of the Galactic Cooperative Council station. Ambassador Velthari pressed her long blue fingers against the smooth surface of the emergency console and watched the red symbols flash across the screen. Each symbol meant another world lost to the hive swarm. Each flash meant millions of her people dead or consumed. "How many systems have we lost now?" she asked Commander Nixalar, who stood beside her with his crystal body shimmering with stress. "Patterns. 47 systems in the last month," Nixalar replied. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "The hive swarm moves faster than we predicted. They consume everything and leave nothing behind." Velthari looked at the tactical display that showed the enemy advance. Red dots marked hive positions. They spread across the galaxy map like a disease. The Cooperative's blue territories shrank, smaller each day. Soon there would be nothing left. Dr. Yethuma floated in her water tank nearby. Her tentacles moved in worried patterns as she studied the data streams. "The hive creatures adapt to our weapons too quickly," she said through her translator device. "Every time we find a way to hurt them, they change. They learn. They become stronger." "We need help," Velthari said. "We cannot fight them alone. Anymore." "From who?" Nixalar asked. "The Cooperative includes all known civilized species in this sector. There is no one else." Velthari touched another control on her console. Ancient star charts appeared on the display. These maps showed legends and rumors from the outer regions of the galaxy. "There are stories," she said softly. "Old tales about a guardian fleet that protects the far reaches of space, ships that appear when hope is lost." "Fairy tales," Nixalar said. "Stories to comfort children." "Maybe," Velthari replied. "But what choice do we have? The hive will reach our core worlds in 3 weeks. After that, the Cooperative will cease to exist." Dr. Yethuma's tentacles moved in agreement patterns. "I have heard these stories too. Ships that fight impossible battles and win. Warriors who come from the dark between stars." Velthari made her decision. She activated the emergency broadcast system. The most powerful transmitters in cooperative space came online. They would send a signal farther than any message had ever traveled before. "This is Ambassador Velthari of the Galactic Cooperative. Council," she spoke into the transmitter. "We face extinction. An enemy consumes our worlds and our people. If anyone receives this message, if the Guardian fleet is real, please help us. We offer everything we have in exchange for salvation." The message repeated in all 7 cooperative languages. It broadcast on every frequency. The signal raced out from their station at the speed of light, carrying their desperate plea into the unknown darkness. Days passed with no response. The hive swarm continued its advance. 3 more systems fell. Refugee ships crowded the remaining cooperative stations. Food ran low. Medical supplies dwindled. Fear filled every conversation. Velthari spent her time in the communications center, listening for any reply to their message. She heard nothing but static and the natural noise of space. Sometimes she thought she detected patterns in the cosmic background radiation, but they always turned out to be random fluctuations. On the 5th day, something changed. Ambassador called Technician Colvera from his monitoring station. "I'm detecting a response signal. It's coming from the Sol sector." Velthari rushed to his console. "The Sol sector? Are you certain?" "Yes, Ambassador. The signal is strong and directed specifically at us. Someone received our message." "But the Sol sector is forbidden space," Nixalar said as he joined them. "Our navigation charts mark it as a quarantine zone. No cooperative ship has ever traveled there." "Why is it forbidden?" Velthari asked. Dr. Yethuma consulted her databanks. "According to historical records, the Sol system contains a Class Threen death world, the most dangerous classification possible. Any planet rated Class Threen is considered too hostile for civilized life." "Then what is sending us signals from there?" Velthari wondered. The answer came moments later. A new voice spoke from their communication array. It used the standard galactic trade language, but with an accent none of them had ever heard before. "Galactic Cooperative Council, this is Captain Do Hyun of the Terran Colonial Defense Force vessel Sol's Pride. We received your distress call. What is the nature of your emergency?" Silence filled the command center. Velthari stared at the communication console in shock. "Terran," she whispered. "They call themselves Terran." Nixalar's crystal body flashed with alarm colors. "Impossible. Nothing intelligent can evolve on a death world. The environmental pressures would prevent complex civilization. Yet they answered our call," Dr. Yethuma observed, "and they seem to understand our language." Velthari activated the reply channel with trembling fingers. "Captain Do-hyun, this is Ambassador Velthari. We are under attack by a hostile force called the Hive Swarm. They have consumed 47 of our systems. We face extinction within weeks." "Understood, Ambassador. How many enemy ships are we looking at?" The casual way the human captain asked about enemy numbers surprised Velthari. Most cooperative officers would want detailed tactical analyses and peace negotiation options first. "Our estimates suggest the Hive fields over 10,000 combat. Vessels of various sizes." 10,000, Do-hyun repeated. "That's a decent fight. What's your current position?" "We are located in the Kepler 442 system, approximately 40 light-years from your position." "Copy that. We'll need some time to gather our fleet and make the jump. Expect us in 72 hours. The transmission ended. Velthari looked at her colleagues in amazement. "Did he just say they would come help us?" "Against 10,000 enemy ships," Nixalar added. "Either these Terrans are incredibly brave or completely insane." Dr. Yethuma accessed her historical databases again. "I'm finding more information about the Sol system. According to ancient exploration reports, the third planet called Earth has gravity 50% higher than cooperative standard. The atmosphere contains oxygen at toxic levels. Weather systems include violent electrical storms and frozen precipitation. Tectonic activity causes frequent ground instability." "And something intelligent evolved there," Velthari said in wonder. "Look at this," Dr. Yethuma continued reading. "The planet hosts multiple forms of predatory life. Massive creatures that hunt in organized groups. Microscopic organisms that cause disease and death. Plant life that produces chemical toxins. The entire ecosystem appears designed to eliminate weak organisms." Nixalar's stress patterns intensified. What kind of beings could survive in such conditions? They would find out soon enough. Long-range sensors detected the arrival of ships at the edge of their system exactly 72 hours later. The vessels appeared on their screens as massive shapes bristling with weapon systems. Even at maximum range, the human ships looked dangerous. "Ambassador," Technician Colvera called out with fear in his voice. "The lead ship is requesting permission to approach." "Grant it," Velthari replied, though her own voice shook slightly. As the human fleet drew closer, their true nature became apparent. These were not exploration vessels or diplomatic ships. These were warships built for one purpose: combat. Heavy armor plating covered their hulls. Weapon turrets dotted their surfaces like thorns on a deadly plant. Their very design radiated aggression and violence. "By the Seven Suns," Nixalar whispered. "What have we done? We called for help and summoned demons from hell itself." But Velthari felt something different as she watched the human ships approach. For the first time since the Hive Swarm began its advance, she felt hope. These Terrans might be dangerous, but they had answered their call. They had crossed the void to help strangers in need. Perhaps demons were exactly what the cooperative needed to survive. The Cooperative Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as 7 species debated their fate. Ambassador Velthari stood at the center podium while holographic representatives from across their territory argued about the human fleet now waiting at their borders. "This is madness," declared Representative Zoltek of the Mining Guild. His rocky exterior cracked with stress fractures. "We asked for salvation and received predators instead." "The database confirms it," added Counselor Yimara, her feathers ruffled with anxiety. "These Terrans come from a world that should have killed them before they developed intelligence. What does that say about their nature?" Velthari raised her hand for silence. "It says they survived what would destroy us. Perhaps that is exactly what we need." Commander Nixalar projected tactical data into the center of the chamber. "I have analyzed their ship configurations. Every vessel is designed for maximum combat efficiency. Their weapon systems exceed cooperative standards by orders of magnitude. These beings think only of war. Dr. Yethuma's tentacles moved in careful consideration patterns. Or perhaps they think of survival. A species that evolved under constant threat would naturally develop superior defensive capabilities. The question remains, said Velthari. Do we trust them to help us, or do we face extinction alone? The debate continued for hours. Some representatives wanted to send the humans away and hoped the hive swarm would spare them if they surrendered. Others argued for accepting human aid despite the risks. The vote came down to a single margin in favor of meeting with the Terrans. Captain Do Hyun's ship approached the station slowly. Even this gesture of peaceful intent failed to calm cooperative nerves. The Soul's pride dwarfed their largest vessels. Its hull showed scars from countless battles. Weapon ports tracked their movements with mechanical precision. Incoming transmission from the human vessel, reported Communications Officer Pectori. Put it through, Velthari ordered. Do-hyun's image appeared on their main screen. The first thing that struck the assembled cooperative members was his size. Human beings were larger than any cooperative species, with broad shoulders and thick limbs. His facial features looked predatory, with forward-facing eyes designed for hunting. When he smiled, they could see his teeth were sharp and numerous. Ambassador Velthari, Do-hyun said in his deep voice, permission to come aboard with a diplomatic team. Velthari hesitated. The idea of having these predators loose on their station terrified her people, but they needed to show good faith. Permission granted, Captain. Docking Bay 12 is prepared for your arrival. Much appreciated. Fair warning, though, we'll need environmental suits. Our scans show your atmosphere is a bit thin for us, and our oxygen requirements might be uncomfortable for your people. Dr. Yethuma's database chimed with new information. Ambassador, oxygen is toxic to most cooperative species at concentrations above 12%. Human requirements appear to be 21%. They breathe poison, whispered Counselor Yimara. The human shuttle that docked with their station looked like a miniature warship. It bristled with defensive systems and armor plating. When the airlock opened, 6 humans emerged wearing full environmental suits that made them look even more intimidating. Captain Do-hyun removed his helmet, revealing features that seemed carved from stone. His companions included Admiral Ji-woo, whose silver hair suggested age, but whose bearing radiated authority. Lieutenant Hee-jin served as their communications specialist, her dark eyes scanning everything with sharp intelligence. Dr. Woo-jin carried scanning equipment and watched the cooperative representatives with obvious fascination. Thank you for receiving us, Admiral Ji-woo said through her translator. We understand this situation is unprecedented for both our peoples. Velthari led them to the main conference room, noting how the humans moved with casual confidence despite being surrounded by alien technology. Their environmental suits displayed readouts that the cooperative computers automatically translated. The numbers were horrifying. Human heart rates operated at levels that would indicate panic or imminent death in most cooperative species. Their blood pressure readings suggested cardiovascular systems that could burst the vessels of more delicate beings. Their bone density measurements exceeded construction materials used in some cooperative structures. Your people, Dr. Yethuma said. To Dr. Woo-jin, your biological specifications are quite remarkable. Are they? Woo-jin replied with interest. We find your people fascinating as well. Your efficiency is incredible. You've built a civilization that spans dozens of systems with minimal environmental impact. While you, Commander Nixalar said, carefully, seem built for destruction. Captain Do-hyun laughed, and the sound made several cooperative members flinch. I suppose we are, in a way. Earth doesn't give you much choice. You adapt to fight or you don't survive to reproduce. Lieutenant Hae-jin activated a holographic display showing images of Earth. The cooperative representatives stared in shock at the violent beauty of the human homeworld. Massive storms churned across continents. Lightning split the sky in brilliant displays. Volcanoes spewed molten rock while earthquakes reshaped the landscape. This is where you evolved, Velthari breathed. Home sweet home, Admiral Ji-woo said with obvious affection. It's a tough neighborhood, but it builds character. And you developed civilization despite these conditions, Dr. Yethuma marveled. Because of these conditions, Do-hyun corrected. When your environment tries to kill you every day, you learn to work together, you innovate, You become stubborn. We don't know how to quit. Nixalar projected tactical data about the hive swarm. The enemy has consumed 47 systems. They adapt to our weapons. They learn from each encounter. Our projections show complete cooperative defeat within 18 days. The humans studied the data with professional interest. Admiral Jiwoo asked detailed questions about hive tactics and capabilities. Captain Do-hyun wanted specifics about their ship designs and weapons. Dr. Woo-jin inquired about hive biology and social structure. Interesting problem, Admiral Jiwoo concluded. They're using swarm tactics with adaptive technology. Very efficient. Can you help us? Velthari asked. Help you, Do-hyun grinned, showing those predatory teeth again. Ambassador, we've been looking for a good fight for months. Our fleet's been conducting training exercises, but there's nothing like real combat to keep the crew sharp. The casual way he discussed warfare horrified the cooperative representatives. These humans seemed to enjoy the prospect of battle. They spoke of combat like other species discussed recreational activities. How many ships do you have available? Nixalar asked. The 3rd Colonial Defense Fleet numbers 47 vessels, Admiral Jiwoo replied. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, fighter squadrons, and support ships. 47 ships against 10,000 hive vessels, Velthari said. The Sao odds seemed impossible. Quality over quantity, Lieutenant Haijin said confidently. Human ships are built to survive and fight in conditions that would disable most vessels. We specialize in impossible odds. Dr. Woo-jin leaned forward with excitement. Could we study your people during this operation? The biological and cultural exchange would be invaluable for both species. Study us while we fight for survival, Counselor Yamara asked incredulously. Science waits for no one, Woo-jin replied cheerfully. Besides, you'll learn about us too. Cultural exchange works both ways. Admiral Jiwoo stood, her movement fluid despite the environmental suit. We need to discuss terms. The Terran Colonial Defense Force doesn't work for free. What do you want? Velthari asked, fearing the answer. Information, Jiwoo said. Navigation charts for this sector, technical specifications for your faster-than-light drives, cultural databases. We've been isolated in our corner of the galaxy for too long. That's all, Nixalar asked suspiciously. And maybe some of those meditation crystals Dr. Woo-jin keeps staring at, Do-hyun added with amusement. Our stress management techniques are a bit more explosive. The negotiations continued through the day. The humans proved to be surprisingly reasonable partners, despite their intimidating appearance. They wanted knowledge and friendship more than conquest or resources. By evening, both sides had reached an agreement. As the human delegation prepared to return to their ship, Admiral Jiwoo turned to Velthari. Ambassador, you should know something about humanity. We don't abandon our allies. Once we commit to this fight, we'll see it through to the end. Even if the odds are impossible, Velthari asked. Especially then, Captain Do-hyun replied. That's when things get interesting. After the humans departed, the cooperative leaders sat in stunned silence. They had allied themselves with predators from a world that defied all logic. These Terrans were violent, aggressive, and seemed to thrive on conflict. But for the first time since the hive swarm began its rampage, the cooperative had hope. They had found allies who knew how to fight impossible battles and win. Whether that would be enough remained to be seen, but at least they would not face extinction alone. The die was cast. The Deathworlders were coming to war. The hive swarm arrived at Kepler 442 like a plague of metal locusts. Thousands of ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming with biomechanical modifications. Each vessel pulsed with organic lights as the hive mind coordinated their movements with inhuman precision. Ambassador Velthari watched from the command deck of the cooperative flagship Harmony's Voice as the enemy force arranged itself for attack. The sheer number of hive ships filled their sensors with contacts. Red dots covered the tactical display like a rash. They outnumber us 12-1, Commander Nixalar reported, his crystal body flickering with stress patterns. Even with human assistance, the mathematics are impossible. Captain Do-hyun's voice crackled over the communication channel from Seoul's Pride. Nixalar, you're thinking like prey. Predators don't count numbers. They look for weaknesses. The human fleet had positioned itself between the cooperative ships and the advancing hive swarm. 47 human vessels faced down an enemy force that should have crushed them in minutes. Yet the humans seemed almost relaxed as they prepared for battle. "All cooperative vessels, begin retreat to safe distance," Admiral Jiwoo ordered. "Let us handle the opening moves." "We cannot abandon you," Velthari protested. "You're not abandoning us," Captain Do-hyun replied with obvious amusement. "You're giving us room to work. Trust me, you don't want to be close when we start fighting." The cooperative fleet reluctantly pulled back as the hive swarm advanced. Dr. Yethuma monitored the tactical feeds from her position on Harmony's voice, her tentacles moving in fascinated patterns as she watched the humans deploy. "Look at their formation," she called to Velthari. "They're not creating a defensive line. They're spreading out like hunters." The human ships had indeed dispersed across a wide area, each vessel taking an independent position. To cooperative eyes, it looked like chaos. There was no unified front, no coordinated defense grid. The humans appeared to be abandoning all standard military doctrine. "Soul's pride to all vessels," Do-hyun announced over the fleet channel. "Remember, we're here to save civilized folks from bugs. Try not to have too much fun." Laughter echoed across the human communication channels. The sound chilled Velthari's blood. These beings were actually excited about the coming battle. They faced overwhelming odds and treated it like entertainment. The hive swarm reached optimal firing range and opened with devastating volleys. Energy beams and projectile weapons filled space with deadly light. Any normal fleet would have been vaporized in seconds. The humans did something else entirely. Captain So Young of the cruiser Incheon's Wrath accelerated directly toward the enemy barrage. Her ship twisted and rolled through the incoming fire with impossible precision. When a massive hive dreadnought blocked her path, she didn't change course. Instead, she increased speed. "What is she doing?" Nixaller gasped. "Ramming attack," Admiral Jiwoo replied calmly. So Young always was aggressive. Incheon's Wrath struck the hive dreadnought amidships with tremendous force. Both ships shuddered from the impact, but the human vessel's reinforced prow punched deep into the enemy hull. Secondary explosions ripped through the hive ship as crucial systems failed. "Impossible," Dr. Yethuma breathed. "No captain would deliberately damage their own ship. Human ships are built to take damage and keep fighting," Lieutenant Hyojin explained from her position aboard Soul's Pride. "We call it aggressive architecture." Commander Jae-sung demonstrated another human tactical doctrine when his destroyer group encountered a hive squadron attempting to flank the main battle. Instead of engaging in a traditional missile duel, the human ships accelerated to ramming speed and opened fire at point-blank range. "They're using proximity weapons inside their own effective blast radius," Nixalar observed in shock. "High risk, high reward," Captain Do-hyun confirmed. "Sometimes you have to get close to the fire to feel the heat." The human tactics defied every principle of civilized warfare. They deliberately put themselves in danger to maximize damage to the enemy. They used their own ships as weapons when necessary. They coordinated attacks that required split-second timing impossible for most species. Pilot Min-ho provided the most spectacular example of human capability when his fighter squadron engaged hive interceptors in the asteroid field surrounding Kepler 442. The rocks should have made high-speed combat impossible. Instead, Min-ho led his pilots through the debris field at velocities that made Velthari dizzy just watching. "How are they maintaining those acceleration rates?" Dr. Yethuma wondered aloud as she watched the human fighters dance between asteroids. "Gravity compensation systems and pilot reflexes," Lieutenant Hee-jin replied. "Humans evolved to track fast-moving prey through complex terrain. It translates well to combat flying." The hive swarm began to adapt to human tactics, as they always did when facing new opponents. They modified their formations to counter ramming attacks. They adjusted their weapons to account for human speed and agility. They learned and evolved their strategy in real time, but the humans evolved faster. Captain Tae-ho of the destroyer Busan Thunder demonstrated this when the hive created a new defensive formation to protect their larger ships. Instead of trying to break through the protective screen, he led his squadron in a spiraling attack pattern that used the system's gravity well as a weapon. "He's using the planet's gravity to slingshot his missiles," Nixalar observed in amazement. "The acceleration increase gives them enough velocity to penetrate hive shields." "Creative problem-solving," Admiral Jiwoo said with obvious pride. Tejo was always good at physics. The battle raged for hours. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Debris fields expanded through space as hulks tumbled away from the combat zone. The hive swarm pressed their numerical advantage, but human ingenuity kept the odds from becoming completely hopeless. Dr. Wu Jin provided running commentary on human tactical doctrine from his position aboard Soul's Pride. The key to understanding human warfare is recognizing that we don't fight to win, we fight to survive. There's a difference. Explain, Dr. Yathuma requested through the communication link. Winning implies achieving specific objectives, Wu Jin continued. Surviving means adapting to whatever threatens you. Humans will sacrifice ships, take impossible risks, and use unconventional methods because our goal isn't victory in the traditional sense. Our goal is making sure the other side loses more than we do. This philosophy became apparent as the battle continued. The humans absorbed terrible losses, but they made every loss count. When Captain Yunji's frigate took fatal damage, she used her ship's remaining power to ram a Hive command vessel. When Commander Sung-Ho's squadron was surrounded, they detonated their own missiles to create an electromagnetic pulse that disabled nearby enemy ships. They're trading lives for tactical advantage, Velthari said in horrified fascination. They're making sure their deaths mean something, Admiral Jiwoo corrected. Every human who dies in this battle takes multiple enemies with them. It's not wasteful if it protects something you care about. The turning point came when Captain Do-hyun identified a weakness in Hive coordination. The enemy relied on their shared consciousness to maintain perfect formation, but this also made them vulnerable to disruption. All ships, target the communication. Nodes on Hive vessels, Do-hyun ordered. If we can break their network, they'll lose coordination. Human vessels concentrated their fire on the organic relay systems that connected Hive ships to their collective mind. The strategy required precise targeting and incredible risk, as the communication nodes were heavily defended. But humans had proven they excelled at impossible precision under lethal conditions. One by one, Hive ships began losing connection to the swarm mind. Individual vessels started making tactical errors as they lost access to collective intelligence. Formations broke apart as isolated ships struggled to coordinate with their neighbors. The swarm is fragmenting, Nixalar reported with amazement. Without their shared consciousness, they're just individual ships. And individual ships can be defeated, Admiral Jiwoo said with grim satisfaction. All vessels press the attack, show them what happens when they threaten our friends. The final phase of the battle resembled a feeding frenzy as human ships tore into the disorganized Hive formation. Without their coordination advantage, the enemy discovered that sheer numbers meant little against opponents who refused to follow conventional tactics. Captain So Young, her ship battered but still fighting, led the final charge against the Hive flagship. Incheon's Wrath had lost most of her armor and half her weapons, but her engines still worked, and her crew still fought. For the cooperative, So Young announced as she aimed her damaged vessel at the enemy command ship. For humanity, Captain, Do-hyun added as Soul's Pride joined the attack. The Hive flagship exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations that lit up the system like a new star. The remaining enemy ships, cut off from their central command, began a disorganized retreat. The swarm that had seemed unstoppable hours before now fled in confusion and fear. When the immediate danger passed, Velthari looked at the tactical display in wonder. The human fleet had lost 14 ships and suffered damage to every remaining vessel. By any reasonable standard, they had taken terrible losses. 3 weeks after the battle, Ambassador Velthari discovered that fighting alongside humans was easier than living with them. The victory at Kepler 442 had saved the cooperative from immediate extinction, but it had also created new problems that no one had anticipated. The human fleet had docked at Cooperative Station Harmony for repairs and resupply. What should have been a routine logistics operation had turned into a cultural nightmare that tested everyone's diplomatic skills. Ambassador, called Security Chief Moltani through the emergency communication system, we have another incident in the recreational sector. Velthari sighed as she made her way through the station corridors. This was the 4th incident today. The humans seemed incapable of existing peacefully in civilized space for more than a few hours at a time. She found Captain Tejo standing in the middle of the station's meditation garden, surrounded by horrified cooperative citizens. The human was demonstrating something he called calisthenics to a group of curious youngsters. The sight of an adult performing rapid physical movements in a place designed for quiet contemplation had triggered panic among the station's residents. "Captain Tejo," Velthari said carefully, "perhaps this activity would be more appropriate in a different location." "Oh, hello, Ambassador," Tejo replied cheerfully, not pausing in his exercise routine. "I was just showing these kids some basic fitness moves. They were asking about human physical capabilities." The kids he referred to were actually adult cooperative scientists who barely reached his waist in height. Their large eyes stared at him with the same fascination normally reserved for dangerous predators in zoological displays. "The problem," Velthari explained gently, "is that our meditation spaces are sacred. Physical exertion in such areas is considered disturbing to most cooperative species." "Really?" Tejo stopped his exercises and looked around at the beautiful crystal formations and flowing water features. "This is nice. Very peaceful. Where do your people exercise then?" "We don't," Dr. Yathuma said as she arrived to help with the situation. "Cooperative species evolved for efficiency. We require minimal physical activity to maintain health." Tejo stared at her in confusion. "But how do you stay in shape? How do you build muscle? How do you release stress?" "We meditate for stress relief," Velthari replied. "As for muscle development, most cooperative species don't require significant physical strength for survival." "That explains a lot," Tejo said thoughtfully. "No wonder you folks were having trouble with the hive. You're not used to physical conflict." The observation, while accurate, highlighted one of many cultural gaps between humans and the cooperative. Dr. Young Su, the human anthropologist, had compiled an extensive list of behavioral differences that made coexistence challenging. Human recreational activities included something called competitive sports that involved teams trying to defeat each other in ritual combat. The concept of deliberately creating conflict for entertainment baffled cooperative minds. They had no equivalent in their peaceful societies. Worse yet, humans seemed to enjoy adding unnecessary difficulty to simple tasks. Captain Yunji had been discovered in the station's kitchen attempting to prepare food using techniques that required precise timing and high temperatures. When asked why she didn't use the automated food dispensers, she explained that cooking was both an art form and a stress relief activity. The resulting meal had been declared a chemical weapon by cooperative food safety inspectors. The spice levels alone could have hospitalized most station residents. Dr. Wu Jin's gleeful consumption of the dangerous substance had only reinforced alien fears about human physiology. "Ambassador," Lieutenant He Jin approached with her usual diplomatic smile, "we seem to have a problem with the shore leave arrangements." Velthari followed her to the station's commercial district, where a crowd had gathered around the human shopping expedition. Admiral Jiwoo and several other officers were examining cooperative goods with obvious confusion. "These tools are very delicate," Admiral Jiwoo was saying to Merchant Keptola. "Do you have anything more robust?" The merchant, whose tentacles quivered with nervousness, held up what he considered heavy-duty equipment. "This is our finest grade construction implement designed for the most demanding applications." Admiral Jiwoo took the tool in her hands and examined it carefully. To cooperative eyes, she was handling it normally, but Velthari could see the stress fractures appearing in the implement's surface just from the pressure of human fingers. "I don't think this would survive a day on a human ship," Jiwoo said apologetically as she handed the now damaged tool back to the merchant. "Do you have anything made for rougher environments?" "That is our most durable model," Keptola replied, in dismay. "It's rated for extreme conditions." Dr. Wu Jin leaned over to examine the merchant's inventory. "What constitutes extreme conditions in cooperative space?" he asked with scientific curiosity. "Temperature variations of plus or minus 5 degrees, Keptola replied proudly. "Humidity fluctuations up to 2%. Gravitational differences of 0.01 standard units." The humans exchanged glances. Captain Do Hyun, who had joined the shopping expedition, cleared his throat diplomatically. "On Earth, we consider that normal room conditions. Our extreme environments involve temperature swings of 50 degrees, humidity changes of 90%, and gravity variations of up to 30%. Keptola's tentacles went rigid with shock. Such conditions would be instantly fatal to most cooperative species, which explains why your tools are built for precision rather than durability, Lieutenant He-jin observed. Different environments create different needs. The cultural exchange program Dr. Wu-jin had proposed was revealing just how different their civilizations really were. Humans approached problems with what they called engineering tolerance, designing systems to work under the worst possible conditions. Cooperative technology was optimized for perfect environments and broke down when stressed. But the differences went deeper than technology. Captain Boram had attempted to participate in a cooperative decision-making session and nearly caused a diplomatic incident. When the council spent 4 hours debating whether to approve new color schemes for station corridors, she had suggested simply picking one and moving on to more important matters. The process is more important than the outcome, Councillor Yimara had explained. Consensus building ensures that all voices are heard and all perspectives are considered. But nothing gets decided, Boram had replied. You've been discussing corridor colors for 2 weeks. In that time, we could have repainted the entire station 3 times. Yes. But would everyone be happy with the result? Yimara asked. Does everyone need to be happy with corridor colors? Boram wondered aloud. Aren't there more important things to worry about? The question had sparked a 6-hour philosophical discussion about the nature of collective happiness and individual satisfaction. Boram had left after the first hour, muttering something about analysis paralysis and productivity standards. These minor cultural conflicts were manageable. The major problem was becoming apparent as more intelligence reports arrived from across cooperative space. Dr. Yethuma called an emergency meeting in the main conference room. Representatives from both species gathered around the holographic display as she presented her findings. Long-range sensors have detected massive energy. Signatures moving toward the galactic core, she announced. The readings are unlike anything in our databases. Captain Do-hyun studied the data with professional interest. How massive are we talking about? Individual objects showing energy outputs equivalent to small stars, Dr. Yethuma replied. Moving. In formation toward populated systems. Commander Nick Salar projected stellar cartography data. If these objects maintain their current course and speed, they will reach the core cooperative worlds in approximately 6 months. Any theories about what they are? Admiral Jiwoo asked. Based on energy patterns and movement characteristics, our scientists believe they are artificial constructs, Dr. Yethuma said. Machines of enormous size and power. Lieutenant Hae-jin accessed her tablet and cross-referenced the information with human databases. We've got legends about something like this. Ancient stories about machine intelligence that cleanses galaxies of organic life. The hive swarm wasn't invading, Velthari realized with growing horror. They were fleeing. Fleeing from something worse, Do-hyun confirmed grimly. Something that made 10,000 hive ships look like a minor problem. The implications settled over the conference room like a cold shadow. The cooperative had barely survived the hive swarm with human assistance. If something even more dangerous was approaching, their chances of survival seemed negligible. What do we do? Commander Nick Salar asked quietly. Admiral Jiwoo stood and began pacing, a human behavior that indicated deep thought. We prepare for war, but this time we prepare together. Human technology combined with cooperative science, our aggression balanced with your precision. A true alliance, Dr. Wu-jin added with excitement. Not just military cooperation, but cultural and technological integration. Captain Taeho grinned with anticipation. I've always wanted to fight something bigger than a hive swarm. Velthari looked around the room at the assembled representatives. The machines arrived without warning, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect geometric formations that spoke of intelligence vast and terrible. Fleet Admiral Sung-min watched from the bridge of the combined human cooperative flagship Unity's strength, as sensors struggled to comprehend the scale of the enemy force. Reports coming in from all sectors, Communications Officer Hae-jin announced, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they faced. The entities calling themselves Void Shepherds have emerged simultaneously in 57 systems, each Void Shepherd construct was the size of a small moon, their surfaces gleaming with technological perfection that had no place in the organic universe. They moved with purpose that transcended individual action, operating as parts of a single vast intelligence that had awakened from eons of slumber. Ambassador Velthari stood beside Admiral Sungmin at the command station, her blue skin pale with fear, but her voice calm. "They're not attacking immediately. They're studying us." Dr. Wu Jin's excited voice crackled over the communication system from his position in the science section. "These readings are incredible. The Void Shepherds appear to be scanning every planet, every ship, every life sign in each system. They're cataloging biological life." "Cataloging it for what purpose?" Commander Nixalar asked from his position at the tactical station. The answer came as a transmission broadcast simultaneously to every receiver in cooperative space. The voice that spoke was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It simply was, carrying the weight of cosmic authority. "Biological entities of this galactic sector, you have been evaluated and found to be anomalous. Your continued existence disrupts universal entropy patterns. Correction protocols will commence in 72 hours. Resistance is not recommended. Compliance will result in efficient termination." Silence filled the bridge as the implications became clear. These machines hadn't come to conquer or enslave. They had come to delete biological life from the universe with the same casual efficiency of clearing unwanted files from a computer system. "Well," Captain Do-hyun said over the fleet communication channel, his voice carrying that familiar human amusement in the face of impossible odds. "I guess we know where we stand." Fleet Admiral Sung-min activated the general broadcast system, addressing the combined human cooperative armada that had assembled for this final battle. 700 ships from both civilizations hung in space around Unity's strength, representing everything both species could muster for the defense of organic life. "All vessels, all crews," Sung-min began, "we face an enemy that sees our very existence as a mistake to be corrected. They offer us efficient termination as if it were a mercy. But we are not mistakes. We are survivors, explorers, dreamers, and fighters. We are the children of a million different worlds, and we will not go quietly into extinction." Captain Bo-ram's voice joined the general channel from her position, commanding the experimental hybrid vessels. "Human and cooperative crews prepare for integration protocols. Today, we fight not as separate species, but as one united force." The hybrid ships were marvels of desperate engineering, combining human durability with cooperative precision. Humans operated the weapons and engines, while cooperative crew members handled navigation and sensors. The resulting vessels performed beyond the capabilities of either species alone. Dr. Yeth-Uma coordinated the scientific analysis from her position aboard the research vessel Infinite Curiosity. The Void Shepherds are utilizing energy patterns consistent with matter conversion technology. They can literally reorganize atomic structures at will. "How do you fight something that can rewrite the laws of physics?" Lieutenant Velthari asked. She had requested assignment to a human vessel for this battle, serving as cultural liaison aboard Captain Taeho's destroyer New Harmony. "You don't fight the technology," Captain Taeho replied with grim determination. "You fight the intelligence controlling it. Every system has weaknesses. Every design has flaws. We just need to find them." The Void Shepherds began their cleansing protocol with methodical precision. Massive energy beams swept across planetary surfaces, converting organic matter into component atoms. Entire ecosystems vanished in seconds, leaving behind sterile worlds that matched the machine's vision of universal order. "They're starting with uninhabited systems," Commander Nixalar observed, "testing their efficiency before moving to populated worlds, or giving us time to appreciate what's coming," Admiral Jiwoo suggested darkly from her position, commanding the human heavy assault group. The Allied fleet moved to intercept the nearest Void Shepherd construct, hoping to stop the cleansing process before it reached inhabited systems. As they approached, the true scale of their enemy became apparent. The machine was larger than most asteroids, its surface covered with geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Weapons range in 30 seconds. Reported Captain So Young from the cruiser Eternal Defiance. "All vessels report ready for engagement." "Remember the plan," Admiral Sung-min broadcast to the fleet. "We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to disrupt their coordination and buy time for the boarding operation. The battle began with a coordinated assault that would have shattered any conventional enemy. Human vessels unleashed everything they had, while cooperative ships provided precision targeting and sensor jamming. Energy beams and projectile weapons filled space with deadly light. The attacks had no visible effect on the Void Shepherd construct. Their weapons passed through defensive fields that redistributed energy harmlessly into space. The machine continued its work with mechanical indifference, treating the fleet like annoying insects. Direct assault is ineffective, Nixalar reported unnecessarily. Their defensive systems are beyond our technological understanding. Then we stop trying to understand them, Captain Do Hyun announced as he led Soul's Pride on a collision course with the construct's surface. Sometimes you have to get close enough to touch your enemy. The ramming attack that had worked against the Hive swarm proved equally ineffective against Void Shepherd technology. Soul's Pride struck the construct's hull and simply passed through it, as if the machine existed in a different phase of reality. Energy displacement fields, Dr. Wu Jin observed with fascination. They can selectively choose what interacts with their physical structure. Which means they have to lower those fields to affect us, Lieutenant Hae Jin realized. When they attack, they become vulnerable. The insight proved crucial. When the Void Shepherd finally responded to their assault, firing massive energy beams, at the Allied fleet, its defensive fields flickered for microseconds. Captain Bo-Ram seized the opportunity, leading her hybrid squadron through the momentary gaps in the enemy's protection. "We're inside their defensive perimeter," she reported as her ships landed on the construct's surface. "Deploying boarding parties now." The boarding operation had seemed impossible when first proposed. How do you invade a machine the size of a moon? But humans had experience with impossible operations, and cooperative precision made the seemingly random viable. Captain Hyun Woo led the assault team into the construct's interior through what appeared to be a maintenance access port. The former hacker-turned-military engineer brought skills uniquely suited for this mission. He understood both human improvisation and the logical patterns that governed advanced computer systems. "The interior is strange," Hyun Woo reported, as his team made their way through corridors that defied conventional geometry. "It's like being inside a living computer. Everything is connected to everything else." Dr. Yeth Uma coordinated the technical analysis from the fleet while monitoring Hyun Woo's progress. "The construct appears to be a single vast processing unit. Each section handles different aspects of the cleansing protocol. Can we shut it down?" Admiral Sungmin asked. "Not shut down," Hyun Woo replied over the communication link. "But I might be able to reprogram it. The central processing core is protected by quantum encryption, but the subsidiary systems use logical architecture. If I can access those..." What followed was the strangest battle in galactic history, while the combined fleet continued their hopeless assault on the constructs. Exterior, Captain Hyun Woo fought a war of logic and mathematics inside its computational core. He used human creativity and unpredictability to bypass security systems designed to resist conventional intrusion. "The Void Shepherds operate on pure logic," he explained as he worked. "They can't understand random behavior or irrational decisions. Their programming assumes all intelligence will follow optimal patterns." "But humans don't follow optimal patterns," Lieutenant Hae Jin observed. "Exactly. We're chaotic, inefficient, and completely unpredictable. Their systems can't model our behavior because we don't behave rationally." Hyun Woo used this advantage to penetrate deeper into the construct's programming than should have been possible. He found the core directive that drove the Void Shepherds: eliminate biological inefficiency to achieve universal entropy balance. "I can't change their core programming," he reported, "but I can modify their definition of efficiency." Working with desperate speed, Hyun Woo began rewriting the parameters that defined biological life as inefficient. He introduced new variables that accounted for creativity, adaptability, and innovation. He added human concepts of art,